All right. So today we're going to be speaking about Acquia's observability journey over the past few years. So essentially covering where we were, where we are, and what our goals look like for the future. Spoiler alert, we're huge fans of Sumo around here. So, we've made a big bet on Sumo Logic being our observability platform of choice. And this will become evident as we go through today's content. More on that in a bit. But just starting off, I'm Farnoosh Azadi. I'm a director of engineering at Acquia, and I oversee observability at Acquia among a few other responsibilities. And joining me today is Mac Gorski. I'll let him introduce himself. Mac?
Hey everyone, I'm Mac Gorski, Senior Technical Product Manager at Sumo Logic. We've worked very closely with Farnoosh on making entire thing happen that you will see as our story.
Awesome. Thank you, Mac. All right, so the agenda, like I said, we'll be quickly going through what our legacy observability setup was. We will talk briefly about what our critical features, use cases, and goals are, and goals with regards to consolidation onto a single platform, what our current observability setup is, and finally, what our future roadmap looks like. And every once in a while, Mac will be jumping in with Sumo's perspective on what our Acquia's journey has been so far. So without any further ado, let's move on to what our legacy observability setup looked like. And I've got a quick diagram here to try and lay out all of the different pieces and components and their interaction. So I think it's important for me to start off with describing the piece at the bottom here, which is the different platforms and components and systems that we have, of course, all of which are reporting telemetry. And so we have our classic platform, which is really our more legacy PaaS offering. We have our cutting-edge, Kubernetes-based PaaS offering, which is called Acquia Cloud Next. And then we have a whole host of different standalone systems with usually their own tech stacks and, of course, their own dependencies and their own interactions. And like I said, all of these systems generate telemetry. All of them generate logs, metrics, events, so on and so forth. And so, we've been partnering with Sumo for a number of years now when it comes to logs. And we've had various metrics providers, third-party metrics providers that we have partnered with over the years. But really the goal here is to highlight the fact that we had one partner for logs, one provider for logs, one provider for metrics and events. And really no way to bridge that gap, no easy way to bridge that gap, no easy way to get that end-to-end view that I feel is so very important. And then, we had, of course, many different integrations, third-party integrations on top of our observability platform. So CloudWatch, PagerDuty, some BI tools. I've put in Domo here, but a whole host of different integrations that, again, had to be integrated with two different platforms, two different providers. So a lot of rework and not really the most efficient use of time. And then we also had, so what I've highlighted here is the users, right? The internal users who had to build expertise on two different platforms and really get onboarded onto two different ways of viewing our telemetry data. So all that being said, we have some lessons that we have learned, and I want to walk you all through this. So we feel very strongly that centralizing onto a single platform for all telemetry is highly beneficial, highly recommended, for a few reasons. So I think that end-to-end view that we spoke about, as we are moving more and more, and Acquia is in this journey right now, so as we are moving more and more towards a containerized world, the amount of noise that's generated is exponentially higher in our experience. And so, that end-to-end view, being able to quickly, track signals across the stack, across different tiers, being able to correlate very quickly is key. And having one platform where everything is centralized, it goes a long way here. Secondly, it's easier to manage costs and growth over time, and this is of course a factor for any organization. Thirdly, and this is a big one also, the centralized standards and whatever artifacts, reusable assets, having all of these apply to a centralized platform, having all of these readily available for all of your teams that are relying on that platform and are looking to adopt the platform, it helps. It helps to rapidly increase coverage, it helps to rapidly increase adoption, and really it helps teams to focus on their core competencies. Rather than trying to figure out how to reinvent the wheel. And then platform evolution is much cleaner, much more coherent, and we already mentioned internal adoption. It helps that you have just one platform that you need to build expertise on. The other lesson that we wanted to highlight and really has been a key takeaway for us is that you want a team of SMEs, really as first-class citizens. What I've mentioned here is this team will be centrally governing your platform, right? And their focus will be on maintaining standards, on providing support, on managing growth, even partnering with providers. It doesn't matter if it's third-party or you're building your own, but really having a way to integrate features, to evolve that platform, to make sure there's no stagnation, to make sure that everything is really tight and concise. That reaps a lot of benefits in the long run. So we've not always had this, and we made a very deliberate choice to invest in this area as a part of our transformation. So moving on, with all of this being said, let's spend a few minutes talking about Acquia's observability landscape. So what are the critical features that are important to us? What are the use cases and the different organizations and groups that rely on observability at Acquia? And finally, what were our goals for consolidation? So I'll start off with use cases. And at Acquia, really, observability is not just about managing the health and performance of production systems. And engineering teams are not the only stakeholders. They're a very important stakeholder, but there are a wide range of groups across the org that rely on telemetry from our fleet and really rely on this for day-to-day operations. So some critical use cases I wanted to highlight, of course, other than the managing of the production fleet and a production system, is so just take an example for our front-end teams, right? So they get data from all of our customer-facing sites. This really allows them to keep an eye on the health of our key UIs, our Acquia Cloud UIs, and the various other products that we offer. Our QE teams report various test results with custom dashboards and alerts that they have built on top of that. We have multiple standalone components that do auto performance evaluations, that recommend upsizes, and really help our operations team to manage our very large fleet. And we'll talk about scale in a bit as well. Our account managers use custom dashboards for customer server auditing. Support and TAMs also have their own dashboards for incident response, health diagnostics, but also for customized alerts for their customers. So really it goes way beyond just the engineering use case. And so one final thing that I wanted to highlight here was that we also have customer-facing features that are powered by our observability platform. So exposing customers to stats, for their web apps that are hosted on our platform and various other use cases. So all that being said, what are the features? What are the basic requirements that are very, very important to us? So a few things, and I can keep going on and on here, but I wanted to highlight these few points here. So the first one is we are at massive scale, right? And so data ingestion, data rendering, alert generation, all of it needs to happen at near real time, which is not a trivial matter. Our APIs are very, very important to us. So we care about APIs when it comes to automation. We care about it for enablement of advanced users, and we certainly care about it for all the customer-facing features that we're building out. Config as code is very important to us. We have widespread use of Terraform at Acquia, and support for that is viewed as a top-level feature requirement. Open source components and integrations, we want to avoid lock-ins, and of course we want to contribute to all of the open source evolution that's happening in the observability space as much as we can. Search query language processing, filtering, parsing, manipulating, aggregating data, all of these things, we need to have a rich interface available to us there. And then just quickly running through the rest of it, we care about non-technical users, and so an intuitive UI, easily configurable, not having to jump through many hoops to do simple actions. All of these things, they're highlighted here. And then integrations with popular systems like PagerDuty, Slack, uptime SLAs that match our platform, and finally the ability to export data. All of these are really important requirements for us. And like I said, we have many, many more that I can focus on here. And so the bar is set very high when it comes to our requirements. Finally, I wanted to talk about consolidation and what the goals for this consolidation onto a single platform were for Acquia. So in Jan 2021, we decided to consolidate onto a single platform after many years of fragmentation, different strategies, no really end-to-end single centralized place that we could send all of our telemetry to. And so the way we approached this was, of course, the build versus buy option. Can we build our own? What's that going to take? And then for buy, who are the leading observability providers that can meet our requirements, that can cater to the use use cases that we've just highlighted. And so we had POVs with these providers. We ran POCs for the build option and looked at what's out there, what can we build ourselves. But really, at the end of the day, Sumo Logic, at the end of our evaluation period, Sumo Logic emerged as the partner of choice. And by the time the contract was signed and everything was ready to go to execute this migration, we had 6 months. So 6 months to consolidate onto Sumo Logic for all telemetry. Definitely a tier 1 project with many dependencies. And so just a quick highlight of what it took to get to where we wanted to be. More than 25 Acquia and 8 Sumo Logic engineering teams directly interfacing with each other, engineers working with engineers. Sumo pulled out all the stops and delivered over 50 features in this time frame, and of course they've continued delivering features post migration, really to enable our requirements. And then finally, the end result was that consolidation was achieved on time and under budget. And I'm of course happy to say that we are fully centralized onto Sumo as our observability platform. So before we go into specifics for the way we are set up now and what our future roadmap looks like, Mac will jump in with some perspective on the way Sumo approached this migration.
Thank you, Farnoosh. Yes, as all of you already heard, the scope, the landscape of Acquia's use cases is very, very wide and goes way beyond just a pure observability. And as Sumo is, we are delivering observability suite, but as many of you might know, we are also a leaders in terms of what we call to be continuous intelligence platform. And thanks to that, we used our internal knowledge to also support other than observability use cases that in examples of which are performance evaluation of the entire distributed landscape that helped Acquia make business predictions over observability and infrastructure monitoring data so that they could support their operations with their customers. That was very critical to the entire solution, that we can support it, that we can be a partner in all of that. Moreover, because Acquia also uses the infrastructure monitoring data as part that is collected as part of observability to actually show the usage, the stats to the end users of their own, we needed to figure out all the practices, all the process and communication around reliability, which is a key in all of that, what we've been working on. So advanced analysis and alerting of reliability components such as collection state, collection health, in situations where, for example, one collector could go down or have problems with passing data over to Sumo, or, for example, a expected metric was not seen in the system. These were the events that we needed to be prepared for and notify and alert Acquia the second right when it happened. So those were very highly challenging requirements that we also needed to take it home and think how we are approaching this kind of requirements. Luckily, thanks to the very close partnership, we were able to solve all of that already, as Farnoosh mentioned. But there is also one thing that I really would like to mention that, in my opinion, is very, very important and was sort of a key in entire partnership and entire solution that we've come up at in the end, and sort of also one of the key to success, which was understanding cardinality. Cardinality is a subject that's often treated very briefly, but if you look at it closely, it reveals its essence and importance. Not many vendors advertise such a deep understanding of incoming data because it, of course, makes money. That's okay. But at Sumo Logic, we believe that educating customers is a key element of successful collaboration and partnership. Working on a full migration of Acquia to Sumo Logic, we weren't only able to help them deeply understand the data structure and how to build the queries, such as metric queries, but we were also we also had to take a look on how we approached that issue ourselves to provide an engine and provide the entire system reliable and performant enough that it delivers the right answers pretty much in a real time, in no time, for Acquia users. And the result is that thanks to working closely with our customers, in this case Acquia, we've developed an entirely new metric query engine that provides much greater efficiency in query processing. And what's more important, this engine just has seen the light of the day for all our customers. But that is not the end of our story, and I think that it's very also important to know how the current setup looks. So I give the stage back to Farnoosh. He will tell us how the setup works now.
Thank you, Mac. Yes. So what does observability at Acquia today look like? Post consolidation to Sumo Logic, and very simply put, all telemetry sent to Sumo. Right? But then what does that really mean? And I wanted to expand on that a little bit. So this diagram here talks about really what it takes to scrape all of this telemetry, to gather all of this data from all of our different systems. Right? So we spoke about our classic platform, the legacy PaaS offering that we have. And when we spoke about scale, we're talking about 20,000 plus EC2 servers across many regions. We are globally distributed. When we talk about our next-gen platform, the Kubernetes-based platform, thousands of pods, many clusters across many regions. And then, of course, we have standalone systems with their own tech stacks and their own dependencies, as we spoke about earlier. So each of these platforms today, each of these components today require their own collection mechanism. So FluentD for logs collection and CollectD for metrics collection on Classic. On Kubernetes, we rely on FluentBit, FluentD, and logging operator for logs collection. We rely on OTel and Prometheus for metrics collection. And then we have direct integration with Sumo in some cases for the standalone systems, and a whole host of other components that we also leverage to collect all the data that we need. And so this is really an area of focus for us now. How do we consolidate and make this cleaner? And the same goals that we had to consolidate onto one platform, we now want to extend to gathering that data, to processing that data, to enriching it, and so on and so forth. Of course, now one of the big benefits is that third-party integrations are just happening with one platform. And of course, there's no rework, there's no redoing of those integrations, there's no compatibility issues, and all of our internal users need only focus on building expertise onto Sumo Logic. So the enablement is more straightforward, and adoption is more widespread. Now, that being said, we've briefly touched upon what we're looking for the future, and so I have this diagram here that also talks about what it's going to look like. Once we have our let's say 6 to 12 month roadmap in place. So of course, all telemetry continues to go to our observability platform, but we have simplified collection, and we're really making a big bet on OpenTelemetry, as most of the industry is. On OpenTelemetry being our collection mechanism of choice, and really used across all of our various systems. Of course, we want to enable end-to-end traceability, which is very important to us, and continue to evolve and add on to this stable foundation that we now have with Sumo being our end-to-end platform. All right, so I think it's also important here for Sumo to share their perspective on what the future looks like. So back to Mac again, so he can talk to us about the roadmap from Sumo's perspective.
Yes, thank you, Farnoosh. So I've already mentioned that Sumo and Acquia had very closely partnership in making all of that happen, in bringing all of the requirements to life and satisfying all the needs that Acquia had for observability, beyond observability, alerting, and reliability. But that wouldn't be possible without having this partnership in place. And in Sumo, this is how we work with customers. This is how we want to work with the customers, building on partnerships, on trust. And this is also where our roadmap comes from, because we are really keen on creating our roadmap on partnerships. So there are 4 pillars on a high level that I'd like to mention around which we operate currently. And obviously the first one is OpenTelemetry. Already, as Farnoosh mentioned, they've started migrating from a lot of different components to OpenTelemetry, which is the new industry standard and looks as very promising and the one to stay. So obviously, this is our strategy to move even further, to grow in the OpenTelemetry and even expand how we support it, what we offer in terms of support for OpenTelemetry with our observability tool. So this is the pillar number one. Second one is reliability. Also, as I've already mentioned and Farnoosh did as well, reliability is key. Is key to everything, to keep the system running, to be informed at all possible times. And this is also where we want to grow through delivering in new functionalities within this space, but also caring and educating customers how to approach to reliability based on our own experiences. The third pillar is users and developers experience. As Farnoosh also mentioned, the importance of clean and easy to understand UI and best possible user experience, that was one of the requirements and a key requirement to support the less technical users to understand and being able to use the platform with the least possible learning curve, to get the answers quickly, to operate without any sort of like a head start that you had to learn a lot of information to be able to use the data that is being collected. So we also are growing in this direction. And then finally, but obviously not limited to functional coverage, we will be further looking into growing how we are feature rich, mostly around operator support, about the performance that we deliver through our systems and query engines, but also through how to ease the pain in migrating from other industry standards such as Prometheus, Grafana, PromQL, things like that, how we can support that in Sumo, how we can make it easy for our customers to use the tools that they know, the language they know in the platform such as Sumo that can, as already you heard from a statement from Farnoosh, to give you the bigger picture about your data with connected around everything else. And naturally, for observability, we will further integrate into between the signals and use cases, not only among pure observability, which are metrics, logs, and traces, but also into security to allow the users to actually see the big picture for as much possible use cases, for as many use cases as possible. So this is a brief introduction how we see the future for Sumo infrastructure monitoring, for observability. There is more to come. If you want to know the details, feel free always to write to me. I can shed some more details around the roadmap, but also if you have any feedback, if you have any requests, that's also the best possible action for you to do, which is contact us. We are always open to build more partnerships exactly as the one that we've built with Acquia.
Sounds awesome. Thank you, Mac. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me as well if you have any specific questions. Always happy to engage.